Marvel's What If is slated to hit Disney Plus sometime in mid-2021. The series will look at key moments in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and showcase what may have happened if something drastic was changed. So far, we have two confirmed scenarios, one being Peggy Carter being the recipient of the Super Soldier Serum, the other being Yondu taking T'Challa from Earth instead of Peter Quill. With so many possibilities, we take a look at 10 possible stories we'd love to see the show bring to life.
At least I'm the only one with the will to act on it.
Thanos is the ultimate big bad in the first 3 phases of the MCU, with him being the chief antagonist of the final 2 Avengers films. He proposes mass genocide to the rulers of his home planet Titan, in hopes of keeping resources in check. Of course, he's labeled mad and is exiled from Titan, which eventually succumbs to the decay Thanos predicted. Thanos is an interesting character, as he doesn't want to destroy for the sake of it, but to try and help people in his own twisted way, at least in Infinity War. But with the power of the Infinity Stones, he could do so much more than simply destroy. What if Thanos, upon collecting all of the Infinity Stones, used them for good instead of evil? He could give unlimited amounts of food for the citizens of the galaxy, ensuring starvation would never happen again. Of course, Vision would still have to surrender the Mind Stone, but if he was convinced to sacrifice himself in order to provide food, he may just do it. Thanos, the Mad Titan, could very well be seen as the savior of the universe. The What If series is set to explore events in the MCU that we've seen already, only under a different guise. But if we assume that this show will get more than 1 season, we'll eventually see some of the Fox characters make their way to the show as well, which means that we may very well get a What If scenario that features the likes of the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. But it's the Mutant Brotherhood we'd like to focus on here. Typically, the Brotherhood are considered to be the villains in the X-Men franchise, led by Magneto. But what if things were a little different? The show could explore the possibility of the X-Men being involved with the Avengers initiative early on, and with the threat of aliens on the horizon, could see Magneto step up and become the de facto leader of the Avengers. Quite often, Magneto is seen as the bad guy, but what if he sheds that skin and becomes something of a reluctant hero and leader for all of humanity? What if indeed? We're all very excited to see what Taika Waititi offers Thor fans once Love and Thunder hits the big screen. The film promises to make Ragnarok look tame by comparison, with space sharks being one of the new additions. But despite all the promised craziness, fans are most likely curious and excited to see Jane Foster show up as the new incarnation of the God of Thunder. But what if she showed up as Thor much earlier? This what if scenario would whet our appetites for Taika's upcoming film by showcasing Jane picking up Mjolnir in New Mexico. In the original movie, Jane stood on the sidelines and watched Thor attempt to reclaim his hammer. But what if Jane didn't want to stand on the sidelines and went in with Thor? Upon his failure, Jane could have a crack at picking up the hammer, and since she's clearly worthy, she'd get the power of Thor and fight Loki, which would lead to her becoming part of the Avengers. Thor, meanwhile, would likely have to learn how to send one of those electronic letters if he would still like to help. We know for a fact that Captain America will be involved in the What If series, both as a skinny compatriot to Captain Carter and as a zombie. We'd be interested to see what things would be like if Steve Rogers took the place of Bucky Barnes in World War II and fell off the train instead. As we know, Zola found Barnes in the snow and turned him into the Winter Soldier, but Barnes was just a regular man at the time. What would happen if the mastermind, that is Zola, turned Captain America, the symbol of the Allies' war effort and the strongest hero alive at that point, into the Winter Soldier instead? We'd imagine the world would be a lot different. For one, Rogers would not be around in 2012 to fight Loki. Heck, he wouldn't even be around to fight the Red Skull. In that terrible New World Order, the enhanced Winter Soldier would enforce the will of Hydra with little to no resistance. Yeah, this got really dark really fast. We're fascinated though. Out of everything that's coming out in Phase 4, one of the most highly anticipated is the return of Thor in the movie directed by Taika Waititi. The now Oscar-winning director changed the game when it comes to the God of Thunder, and his entry, Ragnarok, went on to become the most financially successful in the Asgardians trilogy. Due to COVID-19, we'll have to wait a little bit longer for Love and Thunder, as it's been delayed from 2021 until 2022, but that doesn't mean we won't get our fix in some capacity. Part of the official cast listing for What If includes Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston, Jeff Goldblum, and Taika Waititi as Korg. So what could be going on here? Well, there's a whole bunch of wacky possibilities, but one we think could be humorous is having Thor and Loki return to Sakaar after Asgard falls. Seeing Goldblum's Grandmaster get usurped, then see his planet turned into a refugee camp is a solid playground for some weird and zany antics to unfold. Plus, we'd get to see Korg uniting the people of Sakaar with Asgard and preach out the revolution being a success. One of the most tragic stories in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe would be the origin story of Eric Stevens, otherwise known as Killmonger. Heck, even T'Challa admits that Wakanda dropped the ball on that event. After Eric's father was taken out of the equation, the Wakandans opted to abandon Eric as opposed to bringing him back to Africa. The result was an angry, betrayed, and isolated child whose mind ended up getting warped. But what if that didn't happen? This what if could serve as something of a redemption story for Killmonger. Instead of being left behind by T'Chaka and Zuri, Eric would have been welcomed back to Wakanda and raised with his own people. He could have become a fierce and dedicated warrior who grew up to understand the wrongs of his father, while also helping to shape the new Wakanda he so desperately wanted in the movie, only this time without needless bloodshed. Who knows? Maybe Eric would help guide Wakanda into opening its borders and helping the world. It'd be a great redemption story for one of the MCU's best villains to date. Here's another tragedy undone by the possibility of the what-if scenario, only it comes with a cost. Fans love the Hulk, but understand that he comes at a price. Bruce Banner quite often has no control of the Jolly Green Rage monster and sees it as a loss of his humanity. He also can't enjoy normal things in life and often feels isolated and alone. The result that is the Hulk came when Bruce Banner attempted to replicate the Super Soldier Serum that made Captain America. But what if he succeeded? While Cap lays frozen in the ice, Bruce Banner would have successfully replicated the serum and turned himself into the next iteration of Captain America. What's more is that when the US government finds the Tesseract, they'd find Steve Rogers, meaning there would be two Captain Americas running out to save the day when the Chitauri attack. Banner would have a more normal life and would likely form a relationship with either Natasha Romanoff or with Betty Ross. Sadly, humanity ultimately needs the Hulk due to the snap in Endgame, but we can rest easy knowing Banner gets a few years of the life he craved. Here's a crazy but entertaining possibility to consider. We all know and love Nick Fury and recognize him as the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the founder of the Avengers. But what if it wasn't Nick Fury that got all the puzzle pieces in motion? With Jeremy Renner part of the cast for the What If series, there are a bunch of options that involve his character. The most unique one we thought of was that he was the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. instead of Fury. We know Hawkeye was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent for many years, but due to the different timeline, it was Barton who was pushed up the ladder. His ability to see things more strategically made him an ideal candidate for the leadership position. With that in mind, maybe he pulls together a very different roster for the Avengers, if he even gets around to forming such a team. But it'd be amusing to see Fury working for Barton in an unexpected role reversal. And yes, Samuel L. Jackson is part of the cast, so such banter is more than possible. Robert Downey Jr. is confirmed to have some sort of role in the What If series, which makes us very happy knowing we haven't seen the end of Tony in Endgame. But what can Tony be doing if he's no longer in the MCU? Well, the most obvious What If scenario would be to see the events of Phase 4 play out if Tony survived the events of Endgame. This time, when Tony snaps his fingers, he's in his full Iron Man suit, complete with all the first aid benefits and protection. He's seriously wounded, of course, but ultimately makes a full comeback. Tony gets to live to see Morgan grow up, who now has two butt-kicking parents to look up to on the daily. While Iron Man and Rescue likely won't suit up all the time, they'll still return to the Avengers when things get really messy, but will mainly be there in an on-the-ground leadership capacity and benefactor to the team. We think knowing that would make a lot of fans happy, even if it's not canon per se. The Sorcerer Supreme is the most powerful being practicing the mystical arts around. Those with enough talent and will can find themselves learning magic at Kamar-Taj and ascending the ranks. But if anyone can do it, perhaps a teenager who was bitten by a radioactive spider can also learn magic? Huh? This scenario asks what it would be like if Peter Parker was confused by his spider powers and ran away in search of answers. If Peter somehow ended up under the tutelage of those at the New York Sanctum in the search for answers, then perhaps Peter can learn about his spider powers while also harnessing the mystical arts. Can you imagine how strong someone would be if they can swing around the city while casting spells? Is it redundant? Yeah, a little bit, but you can't deny it'd be super cool to see the web slinger wearing the cloak of levitation. Peter would be able to immobilize his opponents and strike them down with magic, making spellcasting much more effective. Of course, juggling high school will get a whole lot harder when learning magic.
Okay, that didn't really make sense, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Those are some possible storylines we hope Marvel explores in the What If show. There are a whole bunch of options the show can depict, and we want to know which one you would like to see at some point. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in your playlist every day. Thanks for watching.